The warning that shook the universe. The Galactic Council was never afraid of Earth. For centuries, humans had been peaceful, diplomatic, and careful. They followed the rules of the galactic community. They traded fairly, avoided war, and always chose negotiation over violence. To the rest of the galaxy, they seemed weak. But today, everything changed. A single message echoed across the stars, sent in every known language. Humanity will no longer hold back. The words were simple, but their meaning was terrifying. The message spread across planets, space stations, and warships. Every major empire received it. The great Sci-Fi Empire, the rulers of the largest fleet in the galaxy, simply laughed. Humans, they are nothing. The Sci-Fi Emperor scoffed. Let them try. But one alien did not laugh. Commander Sci-Fi of the Krell Dominion had fought against humans before. He had seen what they could do. And he knew something the rest of the galaxy refused to believe. Humans were not weak. They were holding back. The first sign. On the outer rim of the galaxy, a Sci-Fi fleet moved toward a small human colony. It was meant to be a show of force, a warning. The Empire wanted to remind humanity of its place. 12 massive warships, each carrying powerful weapons, surrounded the planet. They did not attack. They simply waited. A Sci-Fi commander sent a message. Surrender your world. Humans are not warriors. Do not fight. For a moment, there was silence. Then a reply came. A single human voice, calm and cold. Leave now, or be destroyed. The Sci-Fi laughed again. Destroy us. With what? That was the last message they ever sent. The disappearance. Minutes later, the Sci-Fi fleet was gone. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Just gone. No wreckage. No distress signals. No sign of a battle. 12 mighty warships had vanished as if they never existed. Across the galaxy, leaders watched in shock. This was not normal. This was not possible. No empire, no species had this kind of power. For the first time in history, the Galactic Council feared Earth. The panic begins. On Krell Prime, Commander Sci-Fi stood in the war room, watching the reports. The Council was in chaos. The humans have new weapons, one alien leader shouted. They are using dark magic. Another screamed. This is a trick, a lie. Sci-Fi remained silent. He knew it was not a trick. The humans had always been dangerous. But until now, they had played by the rules. They had followed the Council's laws. Now something had changed. Something had pushed them too far. The lost history. A Krell scientist rushed into the room, holding an ancient data file. Commander, I found something, he said. It's about human history. Sci-Fi frowned. We already know their history. No, the scientist whispered. We don't. The file showed records of Earth's wars. Wars that happened before humans joined the galactic community. Wars where they fought each other. Wars where they used weapons that could turn entire planets into dust. Wars where they never stopped, never surrendered, never showed mercy. Sci-Fi's eyes widened. The humans had been holding back for centuries. The arrival. A new message arrived. This time, it was not just words. A human fleet appeared at the edge of Sci-Fi territory. Not one ship. Not 10. Thousands. They did not send diplomats. They did not ask for peace. They did not negotiate. They simply waited. Sci-Fi turned to his officers. Prepare the defenses, he ordered. His voice was calm. But inside, he felt fear. For the first time in history, humanity was no longer playing fair. And the galaxy was not ready for what came next. The first strike. The stars burned bright over the Sci-Fi capital world. Ships moved in perfect formation, patrolling the skies, their armor gleaming under the twin moons. The Empire was calm, confident. They had ruled the galaxy for centuries, conquered worlds, crushed rebellions, No enemy had ever truly threatened them. Until now. Tonight, something unseen lurked in the void. Something silent. Something deadly. Then, without warning, the first ship vanished. No explosion. No warning. One moment it was there. The next, it was gone. On the command bridge of the XL-FAR fleet, Admiral Gorvac blinked at the screen. "Where did the Wrathbringer go?" he demanded. His officers scrambled for answers. There were no wreckage signals, no distress calls. The ship had simply disappeared. Then another ship vanished, and another, and another. Panic spread through the command center. Screens flickered, alarms blared. A message appeared across all frequencies, cold and final. You were warned. It was the last thing Admiral Gorvac ever saw before the power cut out, and darkness swallowed the fleet. The silent war. Across the galaxy, news spread like wildfire. The mighty XL-FAR Armada, the fleet that had terrorized the universe, was being erased. Not in battle, not in glorious combat, but in silence. Alien leaders across the Galactic Council watched in horror as one of the greatest empires in history collapsed overnight. Their warships, their colonies, their fleets, gone. And no one knew how the humans were doing it. The Council's desperate meeting. A special emergency meeting was called on Krell Prime. Every empire, every ruler, every general attended. The XL-FAR Emperor himself stood in the center, his claws shaking, his voice barely a whisper. "They're demons," he rasped. "They are not the same humans we knew." The room was silent. No one had ever seen a XL-FAR leader afraid. Finally, Zarvok, the Krell commander, stepped forward. His face was grim. "They warned us," he said simply. "They told us they would stop holding back, and we didn't listen." The Relshen ambassador, a race known for their intelligence, leaned forward. "What do we do?" Zarvok sighed. "We surrender." Gasps filled the room. "Surrender?" A Harkon warlord growled. "To humans." Zarvok stared at him. "Have you ever fought a human, warlord?" A Harkon warrior crossed his arms. "They are strong, but we have defeated them before." Zarvok shook his head. "No, you have never fought a human. You have fought humans holding back. There is a difference." Silence fell over the council. The XL-FAR Emperor closed his eyes. He understood now. They all did. But the realization had come too late. The true attack begins. Far above, in the endless void, something stirred. A new fleet appeared at the edge of the Krell Dominion's borders. Not human warships. Not battlecruisers. Something worse. A single message was broadcast across the galaxy. One final warning. Step aside, or disappear. The galaxy had run out of choices. The truth about humanity. The ancient vault had been sealed for over 1,000 years. Deep beneath the Krell Dominion's capital, hidden in an underground archive, sat a forgotten record. Untouched, unread. It was older than the Galactic Council itself, older than most of the empires still standing. And tonight, for the first time in history, someone opened it. Commander Zarvok stood in the dim light, his clawed fingers trembling as he activated the holographic interface. A human face appeared, a recording, frozen in time. An old man, gray-haired, weary-eyed, wearing an ancient Earth military uniform. His voice was quiet, almost gentle, but his words shook Zarvok to his core. The forgotten warning. If you are hearing this, then humanity has finally stopped pretending. For centuries, we have played by the rules. We have limited ourselves. We have smiled when we should have bared our teeth. We have fought with one hand tied behind our backs. But know this, if we ever decide to stop holding back, it will not be a war. It will be an extinction. Zarvok felt his breath catch. The recording continued. Your historians will tell you that we are weak because we lost wars, that we surrendered, that we compromised. That is a lie. Every time we lost, it was because we chose to. We were testing you, measuring you, watching you. And now, if this message has been played, then you have pushed us too far. You wanted to see what humans are truly capable of. Fine. Now you will see. The recording ended. The vault fell silent. Zarvok stood frozen, unable to move, unable to think. The truth had been in front of them all along. They had never conquered humanity. Humanity had been studying them. The realization. In the Galactic Council chambers, panic spread like wildfire. Reports poured in from across the stars. Entire fleets had vanished. Planetary defenses had been turned off remotely. Artificial intelligence systems, battle strategies, military tactics, all useless. Humanity hadn't just advanced in technology. They had rewritten the rules of war itself. The Exelfar Emperor slammed his fists onto the table. "This is impossible," he roared. "They are just one species." The Ralshan ambassador shook his head. "No," he whispered. "They are something else." Zarvok entered the chamber, his face pale. "They warned us," he said quietly. "We ignored them. And now we have made a mistake we cannot undo." "What mistake?" the Harkon warlord demanded. Zarvok's voice was hollow. "We thought humanity was fighting at full strength." He turned to face the council, his eyes filled with something no one had ever seen in him before. Fear. They weren't. The room fell deathly silent. The unstoppable force. A new transmission came through. Not a threat. Not a demand. A countdown. No one knew what it meant. No one wanted to find out. Across the galaxy, the last remaining empires prepared their final defenses. But deep in the void of space, moving unseen, moving unstoppable, was the last army the galaxy would ever face. And when the countdown reached 0, humanity would arrive. The empire falls. It began with a whisper. Across the stars, the name Earth was once spoken with amusement, sometimes with mild respect, but never with fear. That changed in a single night. Now, in the shadowed halls of broken empires, rulers spoke the name in hushed voices, like a curse, like a prayer. And then even the whispers stopped, because by then it was too late. The last stand of the Exelfar Empire. The Exelfar had ruled for millennia. Their fleets stretched across galaxies. Their warriors were bred for conquest. They were the strongest species in the known universe. And tonight, they would be the first to fall. The grand fortress of Selnera, impenetrable, undefeated, standing for over 10,000 years, was surrounded. Not by an armada. Not by weapons. By silence. No alarms. No sirens. Just a feeling that something was there, lurking beyond the void, watching. Admiral Korvax stood in the war room, his claws tapping anxiously against the command console. "We have detected nothing," his officer reported. "No ships. No energy readings. No signs of attack." Korvax growled. "Then why does it feel like we're already dead?" And then, without warning, the sky broke. A human dreadnought emerged, massive, sleek, and utterly silent. A ship that should not exist. A ship that had never been seen before. The Exelfar scrambled to respond, activating their planetary defenses. Energy cannons, missiles, plasma arrays. The most powerful weapons in the galaxy. They fired everything. Nothing hit. The death of an empire. The human ship did not dodge. It did not need to. It rewrote physics. Lasers curved away before impact. Missiles blinked out of existence. Gravity itself bent around the dreadnought like a living shield. The Exelfar weapons were useless. And then humanity responded. A single pulse rippled from the dreadnought. Not an explosion. Not a beam of destruction. A signal. Every Exelfar warship shut down. Every shield collapsed. Every weapon turned cold. And across the Telfar homeworld, a single message played on every screen. every device, every frequency. Surrender. Admiral Korvax fell to his knees, his breath shallow. "This isn't war," he whispered. "This is a massacre." The XL-FAR Emperor refused to accept reality. "No, we are warriors. We." The broadcast changed. A human face appeared, calm, expressionless. "We gave you a choice," the voice said. "You made the wrong one." And then, for the first time in history, the XL-FAR screamed. The message to the galaxy. By dawn, the XL-FAR Empire no longer existed. Not a single shot had been fired. Not a single battle had been fought. Yet they were gone. Their warships, their armies, their cities, wiped clean. The fortress of Selnera, which had stood for 10,000 years, was now a wasteland. The other empires watched in stunned silence. A simple message echoed across the void. Your turn. Humanity's darkest secret. The galaxy had never known silence like this before. For centuries, war drums had echoed across the stars. Empires had risen and fallen. Blood had been spilled in countless battles. The strong ruled. The weak were crushed. It was the way of things. But now, the drums had stopped. Now, the galaxy held its breath. Because now, humanity had spoken. And the last species that ignored them no longer existed. The archive of forbidden knowledge. Deep within the Krell Dominion, hidden in the ruins of an ancient world, a scientist named Veclan found something terrifying. A record. An old, forgotten document buried beneath layers of encrypted data, so old that even the Galactic Council had lost track of it. Veclan's hands shook as he played the file. A human face appeared. Not a soldier, not a politician, a historian. "If you are reading this," the human voice said, "then you are beginning to understand. You think you know what humanity is. You think we are another empire, another species seeking control. You are wrong." Veclan frowned. This was not what he expected. He continued to listen. "We have always been different, always been alone. For thousands of years, we looked up at the stars and wondered if we were weak, because we had no rivals, no predators, no equals. And then we found you." Veclan's breathing grew shallow. "We smiled. We traded. We shook hands and made alliances. We played the game of diplomacy, of war, of power. But we were always pretending." The human's voice darkened. "Because long before we met you, we learned something important. If we do not hold back, if we unleash everything we are, we do not make enemies. We do not make rivals. We make extinctions." The recording ended. Veclan sat in stunned silence. They had it all wrong. The entire galaxy had it wrong. Humanity was not fighting for dominance. They were controlling themselves to avoid wiping everything out. And now they had stopped controlling themselves. The panic spreads. The Galactic Council descended into chaos. Every leader, every general, every strategist had come to the same conclusion. There was no winning this war. There was no war. The Harkon warlord slammed his fist onto the table. "We must fight. We must do something." Zarvok shook his head. His voice was hollow. "Fight what?" he asked. "How do you fight something that already knows how to break you before the battle even begins?" A hologram flickered to life in the center of the room. A human fleet. Thousands of ships, perfectly aligned, moving in silence. No communication, no demands, no warnings. They were just watching. The decision. "We have to surrender," the Ralshen ambassador whispered. "We have to beg." "For what?" the XL-FAR Emperor asked bitterly. "For mercy." The ambassador turned to him, his face pale. "No," he said. "For survival." The final battle, or the beginning. It wasn't a battle. Battles have strategy. They have moments of resistance. They have hope. This was something else. The combined fleets of the galaxy, Every remaining empire, every last warship, stood together. The final stand. They had no illusions of victory. They only hoped to survive. The last alliance. The Krell, the Exelfar remnants, the Ralshen, the Harkon warlords, species that had spent centuries at war with each other, now fought side by side. Their weapons, once pointed at one another, now faced a single enemy: humanity. A holographic map glowed in the war chamber of the last Galactic Council stronghold. The Alliance leaders watched as their ships formed a massive wall across the void. 3,000 warships. Enough firepower to reduce planets to dust. And yet, it felt like nothing. The air was thick with dread. No one spoke. No one moved. Because across from them, on the other side of the battlefield, humanity waited. The arrival. They did not rush forward. They did not fire first. They simply appeared. Thousands upon thousands of human ships in perfect formation. No gaps, no hesitation. Not an army. An execution. A signal pulsed through space. Humanity's final message to the galaxy. This is your last chance. Kneel. The impossible war. The Alliance opened fire. Every weapon, every missile, every laser. The void itself glowed with destruction. And then, nothing. The weapons hit, but they did not matter. Human ships did not explode. Human shields did not break. They adapted. A second pulse rippled from the human fleet. The alien ships froze. Engines failed. Targeting systems went offline. The galaxy's greatest war machines became nothing more than floating debris. They were helpless. The fear of gods. On the bridge of the last Krell warship, Commander Ktaravok watched in horror. He had fought wars. He had faced impossible odds. But this wasn't war. It was an execution. One by one, ships vanished, not destroyed. Deleted. Erased from existence. The technology humanity wielded, it wasn't just superior. It was beyond understanding. The decision that changed everything. A single voice cut through the chaos. A desperate, terrified whisper from the Ralshen ambassador. We surrender. Silence. The human fleet stopped. For the first time, they responded. A single ship moved forward. A message echoed across the void. Kneel. And one by one, the galaxy obeyed. A new galactic order. The war never truly ended. Because in truth, it had never begun. The moment humanity stopped holding back, the galaxy's fate was sealed. No explosions, no drawn-out battles, no desperate last stands. Only silence. And in that silence, the galaxy knelt. The throne of shadows. The Galactic Council was no more. Its chambers, once filled with the voices of rulers and diplomats, now stood empty. The great banners of the Krell Dominion, the Exelfar Empire, and the Harkon warlords lay in ruin, and in their place, a single emblem burned bright. The sigil of Earth. Humanity had no emperor, no king, no supreme ruler. They did not need one. They were the law now. The choice. On the broken remains of the last council world, the surviving leaders stood before a single human commander. No armor, no weapons, just a man. He looked at them, his expression unreadable. You all made your choice, he said, voice calm. And you lost. The Ralshen ambassador stepped forward, trembling. What? What do you want from us? The human watched him for a long moment before speaking. Obedience. A heavy silence followed. Then the Harkon warlord, once the fiercest of conquerors, dropped to one knee. The others followed, one by one, and humanity simply watched. The fear that remained. It did not take long for the new order to settle. There were no rebellions, no uprisings, because deep in their bones, the surviving species understood a terrifying truth. Humanity was not ruling the galaxy. They were allowing it to exist, and if that permission was ever revoked, There would be no second warning. The last whisper. Years passed. Planets rebuilt. Trade resumed. Life continued. But the whispers never stopped. In the dark corners of the galaxy, among the ruins of fallen empires, survivors still asked the same question in hushed tones. Why did they let us live? No one had an answer. No one wanted one.